I wanted to take a minute today at the beginning of the podcast and say thank you to our sponsor, Huber Engineered Woods. Huber has actually been a sponsor of the podcast since 2020 when we decided to start this little endeavor. Without our sponsors, this content is probably not something that happens. But I think the best part about having Huber as a partner on this is it's an incredibly authentic alignment. Peter, Steve, and I all use Huber Woods. I've been using Advantech Subfloor for coming on probably 21 years now. I've been using Zip System and Zip System with the insulation on the back, the Zip R, since 2013. It's a system that I believe in. That systems approach where things play well together. They have design parameters that allow you to use their system for what you're working on. It works. Their tech support's there. Their knowledge is there. I've never had an issue with their product, and it's a great thing that they've decided to sponsor the podcast. So thank you, Huber Engineered Woods.
Pete Yost here with a quick word about our Unbuild It podcast sponsor, Rockwool. Rockwool makes a full line of installations from cavity bat to rigid exterior insulation. I just want to start off with a quick story. The very first time I used Rockwool in a project was on my own house in Brattleboro, Vermont, over 20 years ago now. And it was a big switch. The attic had existing like blue jean insulation. And I was going to layer on top crisscross a new layer. And I thought, what should I use? Why don't I give mineral wool a try? So I got myself some Rockwool insulation. The first thought was, boy, this stuff is heavy getting it up to the attic. But that's where the complaints ended, because it's really easy to install. It's really easy to cut to fit. It's robust. It's fireproof. It doesn't host any types of critters, from mold and mildew all the way through to rodents and such. So I've been a big fan of Rockwool for quite a while now. And we did a lot of work when I was at Building Green on different insulations. And they're just a real standout. The other thing is they address energy efficiency, thermal comfort, and acoustics. So it's a great all-around range of solutions, but you know me, what's important is what about their tech support? And I routinely communicate with the tech team at Rockwool, get thorough responses, often with documentation, and rapidly. So they're top of the game in my book. Really glad to have Rockwool as a sponsor, and now on to the podcast.
Well, hello there. Unbuild It podcast. Yeah, Steve Basic here. I have Mr. Jake Bruin and Mr. Peter Yost.
Hello there.
Hello.
By my side. Yeah, you're probably wondering, what are these guys up to today? Yeah, well, it's all about mechanicals. Yeah, we're going to talk about HVAC registers, vent fans, dryer vents. We got it all coming your way, and I'm glad we have Peter here to answer all of our questions.
Yikes.
So we're going to start with one from Alex, but before I get to the question, might I go down here to the comment where Alex says, I can't believe that think that your jokes are the best part of the podcast, Steve. Please keep them coming. So
I'm not sure it says that.
And it does say that. It says it right there. But we have to move on. So let's not.
You can't read the part where the guy talks about me, because we don't have time for that.
Does he actually talk about you?
Read the very first line of the question, actually.
Thanks for being a good referee, Peter. I don't understand. Because you wear a black shirt?
The fact that you don't understand is so revealing.
And hi, Steve and Jake. Fine, I'll include Peter.
That was my favorite part.
Okay.
There's content here somewhere.
I'm with you, Alex. I was talking with somebody the other day, and they said, oh, I hate doing that. And I said, in life, there are things you do, and then there's things you have to do. So anyways, welcome, Peter.
Make floor registers great again.
Let's make floor registers. Look at everybody's got their own thing here. Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's clever, but all right. So he lives in LA. It's La La Land. I've made reference to La La Land, so I don't know if you got it from that or not, but it doesn't matter. La La Land is where kind of money, rules, and common sense kind of takes second seat. And so where he lives, 99% aesthetics, 1% performance, but he's still writing into us. So that's a plus. Linear diffusers, rain, and putting a thermostat other than in the coat closet is condemned by interior designers. So, yeah,
So we can all picture the kinds of houses that he gets to build. They're aesthetically pleasing, but if we're talking about we have to hide the thermostat in the closet, what kind of function is this thing really providing?
And what do other people's level of success look like? Right? What does the interior designer's idea of success look like? Anyways, I guess it's to make the Pinterest board. But one time I was sitting across the client. We were probably a table of 10. And there was an interior designer. I can't believe I said it, but somehow it slipped out. But I asked the interior designer, I said, if Pinterest ceased to exist, could you still do your job?
This was your trying to get along with the interior designer phase?
I don't know what it was, but it didn't go over very well. I'll tell you that. But
did she have an immediate response? I'm sorry, I'm assuming she, because you said
it was
interior designer.
But yeah, her response was more of a facial expression than
she was
actual
baffled by your
special than words. Well, you're building a $5 million house, and we're talking about a staircase, and she's showing pictures of staircases. And my comment was really, afterwards, I said, we're building a $5 million house. Shouldn't we design a stair that becomes a Pinterest board rather than copy one from a Pinterest board? So that's why they call it custom houses, because we're not building somebody else's. Anyways, let's get back to Alex and how much we'll include Peter. I had to repeat that again. Start over. They're building an incredibly high-performing home. Client looked at the duct design, said, where do the registers go? Even though the client gave him kind of carte blanche and said, you do what you think you need to do to make this happen. So here he is. I'm about to panic. I don't know that my clients sort of expect what's in vogue, meaning linear registers in the ceiling, et cetera, which seems to be registers up on the wall or in the ceiling. How will they respond to floor registers? More importantly, is there even a reason to consider floor registers? This whole thing kind of revolves around floor registers versus wall registers, and I would include low wall registers and high wall registers and ceiling registers. After all of his rambling, he goes on to say, register placement has felt like something commonly left to the HVAC contractor, which is probably the case in many cases. Yet, is there a reason to place one on the ceiling? So which placement is better? That's what we're talking about here. So after all of that, and the fact that he declined to initially acknowledge you, I'm going to give you the chance to provide a reprieve here and be Alex's savior.
I'm so happy to respond.
Good.
I can tell.
So I think there's something in there about how Manual D does not really specify the location.
Doesn't dictate the exact placement.
Yeah. So I think that we have a history here of floor registers in cold climates, right?
Yep.
And not so much floor registers in cooling climates. I think there's a reason in terms of getting from where the heat or coolth is being generated to in the straightest pathway to the register.
Yeah.
But I think it's also a question of, doesn't that change the way I locate my furniture? And do I have to have those floor registers underneath the windows? And so I think there's a whole bunch of factors that can affect where the register is actually located. And I'm going to say that if you're doing a really good job with the thermal performance of your enclosure, that frees you up quite a bit in terms of where you put a register that's going to be delivering both warmed air and cooled air.
So I like to think of it when I was reading the question and you were starting to give your answer. I think there's three parts to the answer of this. Before the register, where the register is, and then after the register. So if you don't mind, humor me, and let's talk about before the register, because I think you brought up some very valid points, right? If I have a crawl space or a basement and I put the thing in the ceiling, then obviously I'm bending, twisting, going up walls. We know every time we bend and twist, we kink and restrict. We also, a turn is worth something like what, 20 feet, 30 feet? I mean, it's
more than you'd expect.
More than you would expect every time you turn 90 degrees. So the straight run, come off the duct, go straight, turn up, go into the room is probably the best option that you can do, because then you can minimize the amount of duct sizes, et cetera.
And install cost.
So before the register, I would do that. So part of this, which Alex didn't tell us, is this a slab on grade house? Where is the mechanical equipment? Is it in the attic? Is it in the crawl space or basement? If it's below the floor, then I think the floor is probably a good idea. Now, in the houses that he's talking about, I'm assuming the bedrooms aren't probably 10 by 10, right? The bedrooms are probably 14 by 14 or 15 by 16 or God knows what. So what I'm getting at is you probably have the luxury of space, that an 8 by 10 register or 6 by 12 register is not going to take up a whole lot of space. So, but I think likewise, if your unit is in the attic, then I would say the ceiling is probably the way to go, not trying to pump air down the wall to a low spot in the wall. So thoughts, comments?
I'm going to return to the fact that if you do a high performance enclosure, that be the opaque walls and the windows, doesn't it free you up to deliver at the register the cooled and warmed air? It doesn't matter as much where the registers are.
Right.
So
but I'm talking before the register. So you're talking after the register. So I'm just trying. So
you're just saying like where the equipment's stationed simply dictates
of where
it's going to come into the room.
And it would be great if that was always the case, that you thought about where the plant is in relationship to how it's, from where it's going to deliver.
Yes.
Because if those two don't line up, you've done a great disservice, because you're going to have long bendy ducts.
Basement unit with linear ceiling registers, a pain in the butt for the equipment.
Yeah. And I think access, right? If I have a basement and I put the ductwork in and I want to run it up through the walls or something, then if I ever needed to do something with that ductwork, it's going to be hard. Where if I just keep it in the floor frame and it turns up, I pretty much have, access.
Do you get clients that say, I don't want floor registers because it affects furniture layout?
In New England, floor registers, and I know we're going to talk about comfort, but there is kind of I don't know if it's a myth or understanding. This is going to be a good one to talk through. But floor registers in a heating climate, for some reason people think, you always want to deliver heat from below.
Yeah.
Not above.
Yeah. Right? Because if quote unquote hot air rises, you want to deliver it low so it can move up. Rather, you deliver it high, it'll never get down to the floor.
And put the return up high.
Yeah.
If you're putting your return at the opposite elevation, then what does it matter?
Well, and I've been trying to get Steve to say that when he worked with engineers, a mechanical engineer, and Steve was designing, there was always this back and forth about, but if you bump the performance of the enclosure up, that frees me to more options in terms of how I deliver.
No, for sure. Yeah. For sure. So let's move on to the second part. The second part is the location of the register. Like, is there, disregarding placement of the unit, is there better placement like near the center of the ceiling, out by the window, inside by the interior wall, at the floor, right? When I look at floors and I review the engineer's drawings, I look for, did they put the register where we're likely to have a triple dresser or something, right? Because you can understand where the bed wall is. You can probably understand where the dresser is. Like, do we have a little space behind where the door parks where we could put the register? Then we don't have to worry about furniture going over it or something. We just have the door there. So I think picking those kind of locations and understanding that from a general sense, I think is a good thing. I do agree with you that I think the better the house we build, the less concerning all of these questions are.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was new to me. First of all, I didn't deal with many forced air systems, but I never thought through that. Yeah, but we don't have to wash the wall or the window on the outside if the wall and the window are doing a better job of controlling heat loss.
When we worked at Artistic Homes with Mike Sanchez, right? He was, and the beauty of Mike Sanchez, it's just the name of the guy that he did the commissioning of the building, but he also did any of the problem solving should the building have a problem. So he had really great knowledge of how things worked when they were successful and how things worked when they were bad and what we shouldn't do. And one of the rules that we had was that we wouldn't have the duct throwing more than 25 feet to an exterior wall. So we had to be within 25 feet there.
That surprises me that it would be that long.
And keep in mind, for those of you that aren't familiar, when we talked about Artistic Homes offered a performance guarantee on their house.
Yeah.
So they said, we guarantee you're going to be happy with the comfort here, or we're going to pay, if your energy bill exceeds this amount, we're going to pay it for you. And they never had to do that.
And wasn't the guarantee that you would never get more than plus or minus 3 degrees?
It was 3 or 4 degrees anywhere the house.
Located in the house, even though it may have had a single thermostat on the center wall.
So we had a bunch of rules, but I was surprised when that rule, and I believe it was 25. I don't think it was 20. I think it was 25 feet.
That's a long throw.
We could throw. But when you're throwing across the ceiling, I know I've had the conversation, I don't remember, with Armin. He used to work at Building Science Corporation, but isn't there some effect that the what's being thrown actually hugs the ceiling and goes across it?
I think it's sort of the most unobstructed pathway because what is up there besides maybe a light fixture?
Yeah.
Yeah. I never heard Armin talk about that, but that kind of makes sense.
Okay.
The mini split in the main room at my house throws 40 feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
and you have to
extraordinary performance of walls and windows.
Correct.
Yeah. But the heat is also searching out, right? It's always looking for the cooler temperature to move towards. So it's not necessarily, people think I have to put it there. I think there's a myth that says, well, the fan isn't going to throw that heat all the way to the window. Well, the fan doesn't have to. The fan has to put the heat into the room. The room will work on equalizing the temperature. You just need a really good envelope so that the rate of equalization is quicker than the rate of heat loss
or gain.
Or gain.
Yeah.
Depending on where you're at.
And so part of what we're getting at is we used to have to wash the windows, especially in cold climates, because we would get condensation. And the fact that the register was washing the window kept the windows warm enough that we wouldn't get condensation. And now we're talking about, well, if we have better windows and better exterior envelope, we don't have to wash the windows. So now we have other options for our register placement. And one of the things that we've alluded to, but we haven't actually explicitly said, well, now we don't have to drag that register all the way over to the exterior wall if we don't want to. That register can be way closer to the plant if we want it to. If the plant's centrally located, we can move back to an interior wall. Most of the houses that we build now, the register comes in from the hallway or from a central location, and the ductwork is 40% less than what we used to do.
You know, not because I was the designer, but I learned a lot from Jerry, Tom, Max, and Mike Sanchez out.
So the Wade family.
That owned Artistic Homes, and especially Mike. But we would do, let's say, a 2,500, 2,600 square foot house. I bet you the main trunk probably didn't exceed more than about 12 or 14 feet. And the secondary ducts cumulatively
we're probably less than 100 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's probably even a hell of a lot less than that. I'm thinking of some of the plans. Like we always had stuff in the core, stuff went down the middle of the house and then bled out. So if you had a 40-foot wide house and you were able to be in kind of the center third,
Just dump it.
you just dump it into the house and it worked extremely well. So
you said there were three things that you were going to.
The other thing is the location, but then what happens after the register, meaning furniture. Like if we put something low in the wall, we have to make sure we're not putting it where, Sally's going to put her dresser or her bookcase in her bedroom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be an inch off of the register and kind of defeat the purpose.
Which if it's my daughter's room, there is not a wall that doesn't have something yammed up against it.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that your house isn't luxurious because I think it's very well designed. I mean, one of the best designs I've ever seen. But
pointing at Steve.
But that being said, it sounds like in La La Land, because I've seen houses in La La Land, the second bedrooms are, 16 by 18 and have their own bathroom and a walk-in closet. And it's like, that's bedroom 4. In the house. So it sounds like they have the luxury, but regardless, I think you build a really good envelope. You understand that the solution to location of registers should be as close to the unit as possible. And you should try and anticipate, should there be any difficulties beyond the register, meaning furniture or something, or if someone's going to open the door in that room and leave it parked and you have the register behind the door, right? We don't want to make sure that is going on.
Do you think that for this particular, it wasn't Ian, it was Alex, that the building was designed by the architect in conjunction with where the mechanical system was going to be located and the trunks and the ducts? Because this is the big thing that you did with. I
think most architects probably don't care until there's time to care. Right.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. When they say interior designers, no, we can't put it there. Right. So let's, on the surface, interior designer, like here's a thought. We're going to put the registers in the ceiling. You need to design them and make choices to make it look good. See, that's your job. Your job isn't to not be part of the solution and make it somebody else's problem, which some of them like to do. Your job is actually to be part of the team and provide aesthetic approved solutions. So
I think that I wonder how many interior design programs across the United States make it part of the skill set of the interior designer that you need to integrate.
I think
mechanical systems. No. So I mean that's part of the issue.
Yeah, I mean architecture schools. We talked about that in previous ones. They don't talk about mechanical systems.
Certainly not happening in interior design.
Interior design, they're picking out the material for fabrics and curtains and pillows and the right flooring, not what the right register is.
Yeah, and even though the client would say, well, why would that be the interior designer's job? When they pay this much for a house and it doesn't work right, then somebody's going to be responsible.
Well, I'm saying they need to coordinate the solution in terms of finishes, right? So it's like if you're a responsible interior designer, you go back to the builder and say, like, you don't even have to know. It's just, hey, can we get something really long, like 5 or 6 feet, but keep it pretty narrow because I wanted to have this effect along this wall. So what can we do there? Yeah. He goes to his HVAC guy. HVAC guy comes back and says, yeah, we use this company. It's this model. This is what it looks like. It's available in white, black, and stainless steel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we move on to the solution, right? The project we're doing with Howell, Brian actually walks through with the interior designer and talks about the placement of all the registers.
So I think Alex mentions panic here, and the way not to panic is address all these things together to make it work as a system.
Yeah, grab the interior designer, walk through, and then grab the homeowner and say, listen, I walked through with Sally. This is what we picked. See, wherever there's green spray paint, we're going to have a register. Are you okay with this, or should we alter it?
Yeah.
And it's funny because you sent me a post this morning on social media where someone put in a very elaborate
how come you didn't copy me on the social media?
We did.
We did.
We just haven't.
How do you know we didn't? Is the question.
I walked right into that.
But it's a very elaborate ceiling wall interface transition. They didn't make any particular planning for a duct, and when they came around the wall, the duct was in basically the first truss bay of the wall. So now I can't believe it, because I looked at the comments and people were like, oh, what a great solution. No, it looked like dog crap. It was horrible. Like, you're spending all this money for this beautiful transition, and then you break it for it. No, you should have cut the drywall. You should have moved that over a couple bays and redid it. More importantly, you should have walked around the house and said, oh, we have a duct here. Hey, Jimmy, come over here. We got to move this over too, because we're putting up this trim over here. So anyways, I think that answers most of
Alex's. The only thing that you kind of blazed past, you said manual D. Do you want to explain to the listeners what a manual D is, in case they don't know?
Sure. There's a suite of manuals that ACA, the Air Conditioner Contractors of America, have produced to provide guidance on system sizing, to match the loads, ways to calculate the loads on the building, and including Manual D, which is duct sizing, duct layout, in terms of making sure that the right CFM is actually delivered to each space. Because if you create a pathway that's, or increases the friction by 50%, you're never going to get that CFM delivered to that space. So they're used industry-wide. Are there HVAC contractors out there that don't use these? There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
But it's one way of ensuring that they're sort of doing their job when they install the system, because it's been designed properly. It's got to be installed properly. It's got to be designed properly.
Most people are familiar with Manual S or Manual J, but there are quite a few others that accompany that to get a full
right. So the
design.
Manual J is for loads. Manual S is for system sizing. Manual D is for the duct distribution, and then there's one for registers.
There's one for registers.
Yeah,
is it term T? Is it Manual T?
I think it might be.
I forget.
Yeah, but anyway, it's a suite, and it makes it sweet. HVAC.
Talking of sweet, I'm reading the second question, and like the previous question, I'm going to read up, not down, on the question, because the last line of his second question is, I especially appreciate Steve and his very sophisticated sense of humor.
Sorry.
So
I nearly hurt myself.
Just so you know.
I got to do a better job of editing these before I put them in front of him.
It says it, listen, and I'm not. It says it right there.
This is more about Ian than it is about you.
It's Alex. First of all, let's get the gentleman.
This one's Ian.
Oh, this is Ian.
In all caps, the top there.
Oh, there.
From Ian.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ian. I greatly appreciate the connection that we've made with the sophistication in our sense of humor.
Sorry.
Made. Get a room.
Okay.
What does Ian want? What does Ian want?
So Ian wants, hello, fellows. So we're partners in crime. Was wondering if you could discuss venting options for kitchens, hoods, and dryers. While less holes in the envelope is better, it seems like ductless kitchen hoods and condensing dryers cause issues with indoor air quality. Not sure I agree with that, but we'll move on. Are there any modifications to conventionally ducting these appliances that you would include in your details, including approximate makeup air considerations? So what are the thoughts around stove venting or hoods and dryers. And is there any modifications that you think we should make?
Let's talk dryers first.
Clothes dryers?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I think the majority of folks that I've talked to are not happy with condensing dryers. I think they've come a long way in the last few years, but I think the majority of folks that I know that have had one are not particularly happy with them.
Because of the size? Probably?
Yeah, scale and time. Yeah. Like they're not quick.
They run forever and they're about half the size of a full-size dryer.
I've yet to have anybody complain that a dryer in one of our houses is not working. And I made that comment to Roster Thuy recently. And I said, I feel like the one at our house doesn't take extra long to dry or anything. And he said, that's because you run it on sensor. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, it senses and turns off when it's dry. If you run it on timer, I bet you run it on timer. And then the next time
and
you run it on timer with a window.
What kind of clothes dryer do you have?
It's a Speed Queen.
So is it condensing or?
No, it's a regular
just
vented, electric vented. And he said, I guarantee you, if you'll run it on a dry cycle on a timer and then run it on the same load on a dry cycle on a timer with a window cracked, it will be more dry the second time, like weigh your load the second time.
Because
I'm going to do that. I haven't had a chance since I had that conversation with him 2 weeks ago.
Because he's going to be stepping on a scale with a laundry basket.
If there is a difference, my house is very low leakage, like 0.4 ACH 50, but it's a large volume.
Yeah.
I think that there is enough leakage that it's fine and it's evacuating at a fine rate. But I'm going to test Ross's theory that like we have enough volume. I think that it's doing a fine job in drying, but I'm going to put it on a timer and run like the same load of laundry through twice.
So you could take your digital pressure gauge and see just how much the pressure changes on a calm day when you turn that fan on.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done that and been surprised in houses that were tight that, whoa, I'm getting 15 pascals. That surprises the heck out of me from just the dryer. It's going to have to work pretty bloody hard to move that.
I think most of our clients have probably moved on from condensing dryers. And if we were going to go to a ventless option, we'd move towards a heat pump.
So we have a condensing efficiency dryer at our house, and you just change your habits. It's smaller loads. It takes more time, but I'm not sitting there waiting for the dryer. I just changed the schedule. I mean, I had to accommodate, but was not the end of the world.
Household of two, though.
But I mean,
that's true.
I mean, you probably could turn it on at like 6 p.m. bedtime and just let it run through the night.
Get up at 2, put another load in.
Oh, the saddest thing is that you sat there just waiting to say.
I thought you were going to say the saddest thing is it's accurate.
No, he knows I stay up till at least 7:30. Come on.
We're going to break the fourth wall. In the last 2 weeks, I got a group text message with you two at like 8:00, and it was you, Peter, that initiated it. And Steve responded with, it's after 8:00. Shouldn't you be in bed? So this is the kind of crap that he catches even when we're not on the podcast.
I just want to know, listeners, I never break the fourth wall. He always breaks the fourth wall, pointing to Jake.
And then you responded and he said, it's after 8:00. Shouldn't you be in bed?
What are you doing? Like, I'm confused. I should have responded, is this Peter?
Yeah.
No, I sleep text.
Sleep text.
There you go. All right. So
then kitchen hoods. Yeah. So we'll come back and revisit
dryers,
that.
like you bring up a good point. Like people say, oh, super efficient house. Like, can I use my regular dryer? I mean, I don't think I don't know of a condition where the house is starving a dryer. A traditional vented out the wall dryer.
I worked on a passive house in Vermont where when we turned on the dryer, we got over 20 pascals depressurization. And it caused, they had a wood stove. So they were having all kinds of problems with the fact that they didn't have enough makeup air. The dryer motor was burning out.
Okay.
All kinds of habits.
So there is a point where
there is a point. Now, it was a really, really tight house, and it wasn't a terribly large house.
Right. Yeah.
And they did a lot of laundry. So you can find
they allow dryers, Vermont?
Now you have to hang it outside.
Hanging outside on the clothesline.
Okay, so
I remember as a kid, like bringing in the towel, standing up. Like my mom used the clothesline all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
so we're moving on to kitchen.
We're moving on to kitchen hoods. So kitchen hoods, your thoughts, vent, or what you call it?
Makeup air?
Not makeup air. Let's go over the first one. I know he wrote it in here.
He talked about
recirc. Yeah. Because I have some experience where we've put those in.
Well, if you recirc, you're not getting rid of any of the moisture. So that's the first issue. The activated charcoal filters, if you have them, enough of them, and you do a good job maintaining them, because they got to be cleaned quite a bit. Yep. I mean, and the main thing is it's not particles, it's grease. They just get clogged with stuff I never realized, like if you're cooking a pan of, bacon or something, that an awful lot of that grease gets made into droplets big enough that it's making its way into your venting system.
Aren't the capture rates on recircs way lower too, because the airflow is not as high?
They're just smaller in size.
The CFM is so much lower that the capture rate is
that makes sense.
Substantially worse.
Yeah.
Yep. But we've put them in. We have some houses that have some recirc. They're passive houses, and the homeowners don't have a problem with them. And they're probably diligent about cleaning them and doing that. But I guess my point is, with a little discipline, they can be successful.
You still got to figure out the moisture load, but certainly ways to deal with that.
I mean, this house has probably 2 small Zenders in it. So,
okay. Yep.
And they have boost mode and all that good stuff in the kitchen. So
the Hilltop house doesn't have a hood at all.
Yeah.
It has a Zender in that room. And if they're going to do something like deep fry or something, they do it outside.
Okay.
They don't have a hood.
I should say that when I had the IQ Air home monitor, which does PM 2.5 particulate matter down to 2.5 microns, whenever we cooked any type of meat, even with the hood on, upstairs within 15 minutes, that thing would just soar. So, and PM 2.5 is not particularly good for you. So what I would say is, the capture in a really tight house and dealing with that pressure is quite a big deal.
Okay, so then if you do have a hood, you don't want to just depressurize like we were talking about with the dryer. And the way that we handle that is makeup air, right?
Yeah.
So have you guys, what I hear about makeup air vents generally is that, yes, they'll open up when you depressurize a space, but that they flap all over the place with pressure created from other things like wind on the building. I don't think that's true. I mean, if we're putting them in, chances are it's somewhat of a luxurious home.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't claim to know the mechanics of it, but it's a big box. It sits in the basement and it gets wired to the fan. So you turn the fan on, it turns on. So if the fan is
we're not
off,
talking about passive makeup vents.
No.
Okay. Interesting.
No.
Got it.
It induces airflow into the ductwork system from the outside.
That's pretty cool.
The other thing is if you just do same size duct, which is what I did at my house.
Right.
It's not enough airflow to completely compensate. 6-inch hood with 6-inch opening, that unpowered opening.
One's getting pushed and one isn't.
The unpowered opening will not draw the same amount of air. Randy and I measured it. Randy Williams, Northern Built Pro. Yep. He and I measured it, and it was like 50% of what the hood was taken out. And so, like, if you actually want it balanced, you need ECM motors on both with fans bringing everything in,
same time,
balancing it so that you actually can get balance. And that's the whole point of having the makeup system, is that you're getting balanced ventilation so that you're not doing something to the rest of the house with depressurization.
That's really good to know. That's interesting.
Fantech makes a couple units that are really easy plug and play. I mean, a lot of people make them. We have one at a house that Steve and I just are finishing right now, the cattle ranch project, that we have a Fantech unit that has an inline heater for temperature sensitivity. It has HEPA filtration on the intake side, or MERV 13 actually is what we went for. MERV 13.
He said, I'm learning something new every day. That's cool.
So,
all right. I think we've answered Ian's questions except for one.
Wait, real quick. The code, everybody always quotes the 400 CFM mark for whether or not code says you need makeup air. One of the things that part of the code also says is combustion appliance. So if you have induction, technically speaking, via the code, you don't have to have a hood.
Interesting.
But that doesn't account for the fact that, like, when you're cooking, you're still producing problems. So like, we don't go away from the hood just because we have an induction top instead of a gas top or something like that. It still is something that we should be concerned with.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, no, don't be sorry.
Thank you, Alex and Ian.
Well, I'm going to cater to Ian's sophistication, so you guys can listen in, but don't feel bad if you don't follow us at our level.
Are you saying I might not appreciate this because I'm not sophisticated enough?
I can see
you
that.
take it however you want to take it. But I wanted to tell Ian about recently. I love to travel. We were looking into traveling to Egypt. It's number one on my bucket list, hands down. I will go there someday. But one of the things I didn't know, we were looking up, and in this tour package, it said that you could buy a monument in Egypt. It was $500 to buy the monument. So I looked at my wife and I said, do we want to buy a monument? She said, I think it's a pyramid scheme.
I saw that one coming too. That's why I started laughing.
Ooh, that's two in a row for you. That's fun. I'm sorry. That's fun.
Good.
So
I could just see Holly saying that too. That's what made it even funnier.
well,
It's a pyramid.
there we go. Well, there you have it, folks. Ian and Alex. Hopefully we did your questions justice. If you got questions, fire them into
Questions at unbuilditpodcast.com.
So the good man, Peter, will respond immediately. And then a few months later, we'll catch up on the podcast and actually go through them. But anyways, that's all I got for mechanical ventilation. Thanks for joining in.
Have a good day.
See ya.